I dry my own onions for different recipes that require onion flakes, minced onion. I personally have several recipes, like when I make my taco sauce, it needs 2 tablespoons of dried onion. When you make onion dip, you need dried onion. I'm trying to think of some other recipes off the top of my head, but I know I use at least 5 or 6 recipes quite frequently. And you can buy the dried onion in the spice aisle, but I make my own. So this is when it's been dried and I haven't crushed it yet. Then I'll crush this down and refill this container. But this is it. This is all I have left. I'm definitely going to be using that up within a month. And so I'm going to dry some more onion. Here's a bag of just plain yellow onions we've had for a couple weeks, if not longer, because as you can see, one has started to sprout, but they're not soft. As long as they're not soft, it's still a good onion. So just squeeze each onion and make sure there's no soft spots, and there's not. So I'm going to slice them up and I'm going to put them in my dehydrator. So this dehydrator, I got this last year. I absolutely love it. I will dehydrate this outside. I'm lucky that on my back porch, on my back deck, there is an outdoor plug-in. So, and there's no rain today, so it'll be a perfect day to dehydrate onions on my back porch. I do not recommend drying onions inside your house. It will stink up your house. I haven't even cut these onions up and I can smell them from here. So I've done it. I've dried it in my house, the biggest regret ever. So if you want to dry your own onions, do it in your garage or do it outside if you have an outlet outside. So, because this is a dehydrator, not everyone has a dehydrator. So whenever I dehydrate stuff, I also usually explain how you can do it in your oven. Yes, you can dehydrate onions in your oven. I don't recommend it because again, you're going to stink your whole house up. So unless you want your house smelling like onions for days, dehydrate your onions outside. It's a beautiful day today, no chance of rain. So first thing, I need to get this started. So I'm gonna slice up these onions just like a typical slice when you would slice it up for your hamburgers, and then spread them out on your dehydrator. And it's been a year since I've done this. I can't think of the top of my head. I will time it and check it and tell you at the end of the video, but I think it usually takes like 6 to 8 hours to dehydrate them, where you get this nice crunchy, you don't want any water left in it at all. You want it a nice crunchy, like a potato chip, so you can just smash it into dried onion pieces. I have 4 onions sliced up and broken down in rings. Now I'm going to put it in my dehydrator. I'm trying not to cry. This was a strong batch of onions. But the next step is spread it out on my trays. And what's my dehydrator have? 5 trays? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 trays. I can't count. I have 5 trays. And I cut 5 onions. So basically an onion per tray. Could you pack more onion rings on it? Sure, absolutely. I'm cutting it in the rings because if you cut it too small, it's gonna fall through the cracks on my specific dehydrator. Oop, like that one just did. Yes, you can get mats and you could dice them and dry it that way. This is the way that I prefer. Cut it how you want. I prefer rings. So now I'm gonna stack these back up and get them plugged in on the porch. I need both hands for this. All right, I am on my back deck. I got an outlet right here, and I have this handy little cooler shelf thing, and I'm dehydrating it at my highest temperature, which is 158. I want it at 155. So I have that on, and I will check it every hour and probably rotate the trays, because if you've ever dehydrated, you know, the heat with this particular dehydrator and most dehydrators, my heat source is at the bottom. And so this bottom tray gets the most heat. And so I will rotate them about every hour. And it's either going to take 6 to 8 hours. I can't remember. But onions are very moist, very wet. So it does take a little longer to dehydrate onions. Here is my dried onions. They are nice and crispy. All the moisture is gone. It actually ended up taking 10 hours, a little longer than I expected, but it had been a while, and onions do have a lot of water in them. So now I'm just gonna put them in this glass jar and seal them up until I am ready to crush them down for minced onion, or smaller onion chips, onion bits. I forgot what it's called. And I also have let me go grab them so I know what I'm saying. Anyway, dried onion. This is just dried onion. I add 1 or 2 of these little dry and dry packs inside of my dried jars just to help keep the moisture away. I've never had a problem with moisture, but just to be on the safe side, I bought those online, and I just like to add them to my dried food jars. All right, there is my dried onion. This was 5 dried onions. And then here is the last batch I made. So I am just going to dump it in this bowl. And then first try crunching it with my hands, see? Just crunch it into smaller pieces. And then I'm just gonna crunch it down like that until it's small enough to fit in this little spice jar. You can also use like a potato masher to help. I don't suggest putting this like in an actual grinder, because if you're not too careful, you'll turn it into onion powder, which is not what I want. I don't want it small enough for onion powder. I want it in little chunks. I refilled my dried onion. You see I just crushed it down with my hands. And tomorrow I will make hot sauce with the dried onion and other ingredients too. I'll have a separate video on that. And then this will go on my pantry shelf until I need to restock this little jar.